But let's start off. This is what if we remember, this is what our standard T flip-flop looks like. Uh, we just have the three blocks like this, piston pointing up to the block. This is important. And then we have the sticky piston attached to redstone block. This is the T flip-flop we went over before. Well, for counters, we're going to use a slightly varied version of the T flip-flop. When I show you guys the T flip-flop, I said there are a lot of different ways to design the T flip-flop. And this is another way to design a T flip-flop. This functions in the exact same way. The first part is exactly the same as our T flip-flop. Our block, they use a repeater instead of redstone dust. Doesn't make a difference, but you can do that. And we're going to turn to the right instead of going straight, just because it makes it easier to attach future T flip-flops. It makes it look prettier. So if we test this out, this is our output. We can make sure this works. This is in the library of redstone modules. If you guys want to take a look, we hit it, it's going to alternate. And the way this one works is we have this redstone torch, which is always powering this repeater. When you hit the button, you're going to push up the sticky piston, which is going to push this block up. Same way we push the redstone block. Just like the redstone block, it's going to get stuck when you hit it once. And the sand block is going to prevent this. It's going to power this dust, which turns off this redstone torch, which turns off our light. So now this is our design. We'll go over this a little bit more, but it's helpful because it's more compact and it's a lot easier to connect. So now we have I didn't take time to build, but this is a very easy counter you can build using this T flip-flop design. So if we reset it, let's just go back to 0. We're in the middle a little bit. We have to hit the button a few times. This is a bunch of T flip-flops connected to each other. We have 5 T flip-flops here. Ooh. One more. Ooh, we're almost at 0. Takes a second. All right, there we go. We're at 8, 9. All right. 10, 11, 12, 13. We can count with the lights as we see. 14, I think we are. I wasn't paying attention. Skipped a few numbers. Okay. And now we're at 2 more. We're at 13. Now we're at 15. There. 14. I'm skipping 14. There we go. Now we're at 15. All of our lights are lit up. We remember that. Oh, sorry, 32. I knew I wasn't counting wrong. So one goes. There's 5 of them. All right. So this is our first one. This can count from 0 to 1. If we just had this one T flip-flop, we can go from 0 to 1. We can test it out here. 0. Now we're at 1, 0, 1. If we break this real fast, and we have just these 2 T flip-flops, we can now count from 0 to 3. So here we're at 0. We hit it once, it will act just like our original 1 T flip-flop. When we hit it a second time, if we go over here, because we have this, because the block is down right now, when you click this again, it's going to power it, which means this is going to go up. But at the same time, it's going to momentarily power the wool, which powers this, which is going to send a signal here, which means that this one's going to change states. So now we have 2. We hit it again. There's no block here, which means the signal won't get to this T flip-flop. So we'll just switch the state of this first T flip-flop. All right. And when both of them are on and we hit the switch again, when we hit this switch, this block will be powered and this block will be powered, which means both of them will switch states. You see them, both of them moved, and now they both turned off, and we're back to 0. If we reconnect our design, I think it's blue wool we used here. Reconnect this, we break this one, we can add a third T flip-flop like this. And all you do to connect a T flip-flop when you're using this design is you just put a block with a repeater on it. This is why when we're using counters, this is a slightly better version of the T flip-flop because it makes it really easy to connect and it'll make your redstone a lot easier. Does anyone have any questions about this T flip-flop? We'll go over how to build it again, but does anyone have any questions about this?
Okay, so our challenge, guys, is to build this T flip-flop. We want to put an oscillator in front of it to trigger it. And then the output is going to be a drum beat. And so on count 0, when both flip-flops are off, we want to make a bass drum. And then on counts 1, 2, and 3, we're going to do 3 snare drums. It doesn't have to be, it can be any, you can pick any sound, any 2 sounds. One of them is going to be the main beat in a measure, and then the other 3 beats will be the snare drum. So it'll be like boom, bop, 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 boom, bop, 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 boom, bop, bop, bop. And that's the rhythm behind most music. Most music is in 4/4 time, and that means that you have 4 beats in a measure, and with 2 flip-flops, we can count 4 states. The 0 state is going to be the bass drum, and then states 2, 3, and 4 can be a snare drum. If you really want to be a fancy drummer, you can try different sounds for those 4 beats, but the main beat should be the dominant beat. Boom, bop, 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 boom, bop, 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 boom, bop, 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 boom, bop, bop, bop. Bass drum, and then 3 snare drums.
That way we're all here to see. This right part is a different way of having a redstone block. So when you hit this button, you're going to send power to this repeater. If the green wool is in the lower state, down here, the signal is going to flip the state of this redstone lamp. However, if it's in the upper state, like it is right now, the signal will still change this one, but it won't be able to reach the yellow. So only when the green wool is on the bottom level, touching on the second level, will the signal be able to pass to the yellow wool. And the same thing with the yellow wool. If the yellow wool is in the air, nothing to the right of it will get modified. So conceptually, if we go back to the start, let's say we start off with them all off. Just flick it once. We'll just assume the ones afterwards are off. If we get here, this piston, no matter what happens, every time we hit this button, is going to be powered. And it's either going to move the green wool up or move the green wool down. If the green wool starts in the up position, which means that this is off, then the redstone signal here will not reach the second T flip-flop because there's no block here for the redstone signal to pass through. That means that, let's say this is conceptually in base, if we think in base 2, this is either 0 or 1, this is either 0 or 10, this is either 0 or 100, 0 or 1000. So let's work. If I'm going to work with the first 2 because I think conceptually it's the simplest. I'm going to break this one for now. If they're both 0, let me flick it again so they're both 0. Okay, actually this works. When this one is 0, then the value is 10. I'm going to break these redstone lamps for now. Just while I explain, can we leave the button alone? When they're both at 0, you get the redstone signal here. The redstone signal is going to power this sticky piston and push the wool up. However, when it's in the upper position, let's make sure not to break everything, guys. Let's be careful of this while I explain. All right, here's what we're gonna do because we have people. I'm gonna have to put you all in spectator if we keep on messing with this just for the time period. If we have these two, I'm gonna hit again. Uh, so we go back to 0, just so I explain this conceptually. When the green wool is in the upper position, the value of this right now, we're just looking at the first two, is 0. We hit this once. Because there's no block here, the signal will not reach our second T flip-flop. So we hit it once, the signal activates this sticky piston, and as a result of the sand block no longer blocking the signal and powering this redstone, this light turns on. The second time, the signal is gonna, we hit the button, the signal is gonna power this green block. When we power this green block, it's gonna activate this piston again. So this is gonna flip again, turning off. But because this is powered, it's gonna power this repeater, which means that our second T flip-flop is also gonna experience a shift the same way. So if I hit it now, this one's gonna flip from 1 to 0, and this one's gonna flip from 0 to 1, which is it going from a value of 1 to a value of 10. 1, if you think about it, 1 is 1, 0, and 10 is 0. Sorry, John. 1 is 0, 1, and 10 is 1, 0. So if we hit it, it's going to flip. All right. And then every time we add a T flip-flop, it's going to act the exact same way as with the first two. All right. So let's go back. Does anyone have any questions about how this works? Anyone want me to explain it again? All right. In that case, can someone tell me, I'm going to go back to the number we were at before. Can someone tell me what number this is? We have a few signs to help you guys out. Does someone know what value this is representing? This represents, yeah, we have someone who says 10. That's correct. There we go. We got there, John.
Good, good,
yeah.
good, good.
So we have the 8 plus the 2. So what we're going to do now is, as a reminder, we are in the library of redstone modules. This will probably end up being your favorite place. It's in this top corner here, or if you can also go through the drawbridge at the front, if you ever need more inspiration. But let's try and build a T flip-flop in this design on your island. And if you finish that, see if you can start connecting the note blocks like John said. So what was the tune you wanted, John? I forget.
Well, you'll need to build an oscillator to make the beats repeat. So the oscillator will be the input instead of the switch or the button that you have there. We're gonna trigger the whole series of 2 flip-flops with an oscillator. And then the outputs, instead of turning lamps on, we'll have them trigger notes.
All right, perfect. So that's the basic concept of base 2 to base 10. So makes math pretty easy, base 2.
Now it might seem abstract and a lot of extra work, but you'll appreciate this once we start building music machines, firework displays, clock towers, and even more complicated things. You can follow a cookbook, but then someday you're going to get replaced by a robot. If you understand how things work, you won't get replaced by a robot.
One final thing. This isn't to do with the redstone building, but you guys are really have built a lot of things, and I noticed that some of your islands are really starting to fill up. If you guys need me to fly over and create you another small island so you have room to build, let me know, because we want you to be able to not have to worry about space constraints when you're building. All right.